Hello everybody, and welcome to Cooking with Francois. It was supposed to be last week, but the hurricane blew in, so I'm doing it this week. And since we're in September, I have decided to do some apple recipes. I'm doing two today. I'm going to do an apple crisp in the pressure cooker and apple dumplings in the pressure cooker. Got lots of wonderful ingredients here. First thing I want to show you though is how I am going to do the apples for the apple dumpling because it takes longer than the others. I have a apple core peeler and slicer, but I'm only using it right now to peel the apple that I'm going to use in the dumplings. And that's all it takes to peel the apple. Then we can pull it back, put the next apple on. These, by the way, are Gala apples. You can use any tart, firm apple. For the crisp, I'm using Granny Smith apples. So, all right, we have already peeled our two apples. Now I'm going to cut them into pieces and core them using an apple core and sectioner. So now we have our sections for making our dumplings. There's our core. Number two. And we are now ready to continue with making our dumplings. So, I'll be back in a minute. All right, our next step is going to be making the dumplings itself. I'm going to move this out of the way, which I should have done when I wasn't on camera, but there we go. Just get it out of the way so you can hopefully see what I'm doing. Crescent roll dough. You can do so many wonderful things with this crescent roll dough. What we're getting ready to do is we're getting ready to roll up our apples in the crescent roll dough. So, we're going to separate the dough into its 8 sections. Like so. Then we're going to take one of our pieces of apple, put it on the skinny end, and wrap it up in our dough and seal it so that none of the apple is showing. Let me do one more, and then I'm not going to make you watch me do the rest, and we'll be back in a minute. But here we go. Here we're wrapping it up, and we are now sealing it. There you go. There are two examples of rolling up your apple in the dough. Once I finish wrapping the rest, I'll be right back. All right. Our next step is to turn on the simmer section of our pot. We are now going to take some butter. Here's the butter. I'm using unsalted butter for this recipe. And I need 8 tablespoons, which is an entire stick of butter, which will automatically tell you it's going to be awful good. Anything that has that much butter in it. So we're going to put our butter in the pot and let it melt while we get our other ingredients ready to go in there. We're going to get our sugar ready. I'm going to use this bowl for my sugar. 1/3 of a cup of light brown sugar. Right, our butter has melted. We're going to put 1/3 of a cup of regular sugar in, and 1/3 of a cup of our light brown sugar firmly packed. There we go. And we're going to stir that around in the butter. And we're going to add our spices to this mixture. Our spices are a teaspoon of cinnamon, 1 teaspoon right there. Okay. And 1/4 a teaspoon of nutmeg. That's 1/8. A cup of apple cider. Ooh, that's a good sound. And a teaspoon of vanilla. Please make sure you use a good quality vanilla. Don't use that imitation stuff. I'm very peculiar about my vanilla. Always have been. I guess because we used to sell it at our drugstore. And people used to come in with their cough syrup bottles that had a label that said vanilla on it. So, we're going to stir that up real good. Because I'm cooking 2 recipes, I know it looks, I should say, junkier than normal for me, but then again, it's usually pretty junky for me as it is. All right, now once we've done that, we cancel this and we place the dumplings in and we turn them over to make sure that they are coated. So I'm turning them over after I put them in. and I've got my 8 dumplings in, and I'm using my 4-quart pressure cooker for this since it's not that big of a dish. Now that I've canceled it, we put our top on. We move the knob to pressure, which is right there, and we set it for 10 minutes. So here we go. Pressure, start, and we're set and ready to go. I'll be back in a minute to start our other dish. All right, here we go. We're going to try one of our dumplings. That's what it looks like when you're finished with it. Oh my goodness. I'll show it to you in a second. Put a little juice over it. You can serve it, if you like, with whipped cream, ice cream, whatever you'd like. But there it is, the dumpling. Let me cut into it. Oh my gosh, the apple is cooked so well on the inside. Let me take a bite. Out of this world. I can't wait to try the apple crisp when it gets ready. See you in a minute. This recipe for apple crisp is going to use 9 cups of apples. I'm going to use my peeler once again to peel the apples. Then I'm going to use my corer to cut it into sections, and then I'm going to cut it into chunks. I am using Granny Smith apples for this. They're very good cooking apples. So I'm going to take these and I am going to cut them into pieces. Like I said before, my peeler will core it and slice it, but the slices are so thin, I really think it would cook too fast, even though I'm getting ready to surprise you by saying it cooks under pressure for a whole minute. So, I've got to have 9 cups. It says to leave the peel on about half of them, that it makes the texture better. I guess it's a matter of taste. Well, that is almost a cup there, and that was 1 Granny Smith apple. So, and you'll see this is the size of the apples that I'm using. So about 9 or 10 of this size Granny Smith will work. Then once we get the apples, we're then going to put them into our pressure cooker, like so. So, not going to make you watch me peel and chop up apples. Now that you see how to do it, I'll be back once I get it all done. Well, I've got them all cut up and in here now. Now we're going to add a half a teaspoon of cinnamon to just the apples. And we're going to stir that around just a little bit. And as you can see, they've all got a little bit of cinnamon on them. So now we're going to make our liquid portion. We are going to take apple juice, or cider, it doesn't matter. You can actually use water if you want to. I couldn't imagine doing that. So I'm going to get another cup of our cider. And put it in my bowl right here, because we're not going to use all of it at one time. Put that out of our way. Then we're going to add some apple cider vinegar, 1 tablespoon. All right, and then 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. Look at there. All right. All right. Oh, got a lemon seed in there. I don't want anybody crunching down on that. Actually, I got 3 of them in there, it looks like. Did not do a very good job squeezing the lemons and keeping the seeds out. All right. Once we put those in there, we're going to add our vanilla extract, 1 teaspoon. Teaspoon measure. Now I've got a half of one, that's just as good. All right. Before I knock something over. Stir that. To incorporate everything. And then we're going to pour half of this over the apples. And we're going to set this aside. Now, in our measuring cup, I'm going to take our cornstarch, and I'm going to take, let's see, how much am I supposed to get? Cornstarch or arrowroot, 2 tablespoons, so that would be, that's a half a tablespoon, 2 tablespoons, 1 tablespoon, 1.5, and 2. And we're going to mix that with some more apple juice, about 2 tablespoons. And then we're going to mix that all together, making a slurry of those. This will just make our sauce a little bit richer and also thicker, of course. So I've done that, and then I pour it in, and I mix that to make sure the apples have all been coated in that mixture with the cinnamon and the juice and all the other wonderful things that we've already put in there. All right, now we're going to go ahead and put that into our pot, and I've got to get a bowl. I'll be right back. All right, got my bowl. Now we're going to make our topping. Our topping is going to consist of 2 cups of rolled oats. 1. Now, I'm letting you know ahead of time. This makes an awful lot of topping, but that is because when I was growing up, we would fight over to see who could get the most of it, of the topping. So this particular recipe makes an extra large amount. So 2 cups of oats, a half a cup of flour, and a half a cup of light brown sugar. All right, half a cup of flour, and a half a cup of brown sugar. This is one of those recipes where it doesn't matter if you would rather have dark brown, you can use dark brown. It's entirely up to you. The first recipe that I cooked, the dumplings, which are ready and we're just waiting for the natural release of pressure, called for light brown sugar. So instead of buying 2 different types, I just bought the light brown sugar. So we put the flour, the oats, and the brown sugar together, and we mix them up a little bit to make sure that that brown sugar gets all broken up, because sometimes it likes to stay in lumps. All right, that's mixed together pretty good. Now we're going to add some spices to this, including 1/8 of a teaspoon of ground cloves, 1/8 of a teaspoon of ground nutmeg, which you can go up to 1/4. It depends on how much you like nutmeg. And we've already used our half teaspoon of cinnamon in our apples, but we need 2 tablespoons of cinnamon. I know it looks like I'm putting a lot, but this is not a full tablespoon size measure. And then we mix all that in. Now, you can use from a stick to a stick and, you can use up to 3/4 a cup. I'm using a 1/2 a cup today. And we just mix that in with our topping until it's mixed in well. We don't want it dry looking. Of course, we are going to add the rest of our liquid to it. So, there we go. That's pretty well mixed. We now put that over our apples and spread it out evenly over the apples. Then we are now going to pour the rest of the apple juice mixture over the top, like so. We're going to put our top on. Turn it to lock it. Set it on airtight or steam. Takes about 7 to 10 minutes to come up to steam. So you're going to love this. We are going to pressure cook. 1 minute. Start. Because it'll take 7 to 10 to get up to heat. Thus it is cooking during that entire time. All right, our apple crisp is finished. We're going to do a quick release. I think it's just... There we go. Oh, wow. I'm going to pick up the camera and let you look at it. So, this is our apple crisp. A little more, get me a little more of that topping and try it and see what I think here. It is very, very hot. And remember, I only cooked it under pressure for 1 minute. But the apples are completely done. Very, very good. If you wanted to, you might want to put a little more sugar in it, but it's perfect for me because I like mine real tart. If you want yours real sweet, add up to 3/4 of a cup of sugar instead of 1/2 of a cup of the brown sugar. I like the skin being on the apples, and the crisp topping is just delicious. And as you can see, the apple is completely done. So, I hope you've enjoyed cooking apples with me today. And until next time, let's dig in.